Okay, and we should be live now. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am very excited because I have here today Greg on one hand, my colleague sitting in the States, and on the other hand we have a customer of ours, Division 7 Roofing, who is going to tell their story. So I'm very excited about this live event because it's the first one that we do with both Greg and a customer. So Greg, since this will be the first of many live events together, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So Greg Hall, Virtuosity Product Sales Engineer. Glad to be here. 25, 30 years of experience in the AEC industry, of course. I'm reality modeling sales for Virtuosity right now. So we're super stoked to have Division 7 Roofing with us today. And so we have John Kiesel, president of Division 7 Roofing, and Kerrick Willis, who is working there as the reality modeler. So before we get started, Kerrick, I'd like to ask a little bit about your background. So what drove you personally towards reality modeling?
So my personal background with reality modeling started with drones specifically around the 2016, 2017 timeframe when the 107 came around. I was currently in college flying commercial helicopters. And that kind of didn't work out for me. So I was always wanting to use my aviation degree, going back home and using my prior experience in the commercial roofing world and, wanting to know kind of how these things can blend. How can you, use this kind of technology, and you begin to, do some research, start Googling, and, come across some mapping or modeling companies. I use the word mapping very selectively. Obviously, we're not a surveying company, we're not an engineering company. So you use caution for whatever state you're in for the terminology you use. But, just starting with those high resolution orthomosaics that can be made pretty easy. And that's what you're seeing on your screen here. And then some obliques thrown in. And this is a little further kind of down the pipeline later at Division 7. But essentially, I just found, just have a passion for aviation, a passion for technology, and it kind of led me to an opportunity to where I was essentially kind of applying at Division 7 to showcase some of the technology. And thankfully, I got pretty lucky with John that he was, willing to listen and, he were to have to say, and he's actually able to see some real benefits, which I'll explain to you.
Great, fantastic.
So yeah, when Kerrick came into Division 7 and immediately opened up his laptop and coming in to talk about a potential job role opportunity, which involved management of people in the field, and quickly he opened up his laptop and showcased his modeling capabilities, and we quickly transferred the job role from a production manager to a technology role with the company, because we definitely saw value in taking our operational enhancements to a whole nother level. We just needed to work together on integration of the technology and putting it to practical use. And through, I guess we've been working together a little over a year now. We have what I feel is a great addition to our operational enhancements and our client engagement opportunities when we collaborate. And Kerrick's just done a phenomenal job, and I truly believe he's a leader in the modeling drone technology realm that I just enjoy watching flourish every day.
That's fantastic. That's awesome.
Can I ask you, John? Actually, this is very interesting for me. How did you? Was this all new? Like Kerrick telling you all, about the possibilities with drone technology and mapping and all this. Was this all new to you, or was it somewhere in the industry already? Was you were seeing that the new technologies were kind of like being integrated, or how did that change happen for you?
Yeah, I mean, Division 7 Roofing is a forward-thinking company. We embrace technology, and enhancements that we can provide to our clients to help differentiate ourselves in the commercial roofing commodity-driven type of offering that roofers run around with every day. And I honestly had never seen modeling or the capabilities of drones beyond a flat picture. And we were doing those types of images of our completed projects through a drone marketing type of company. We had great flat images we put in a frame and hung on the wall. But once it was hung on the wall, you couldn't do much with it other than look at it. And when Kerrick started to show me his earlier progressions and the modeling and the capabilities, it just clicked for me mentally. And it was just a beautiful thing that I was just amazed with. And as a company, we were willing to invest in the time, effort, energy, equipment, technology, et cetera, and the R&D to get us to where we are now. So I feel that we're starting to gain the benefits of our efforts, about a year later.
Yeah, it's
a great
amazing.
Story. Yeah. Good story.
Actually, I have a comment from James saying it's great to see decision makers who immediately understand and embrace new methods and technologies, plus are prepared to take a risk and test it out. I think is incredible that in less than a year you guys are actually, fully have integrated this fully in your organization at different levels. So tell us more about this.
So really, it kind of it developed from the drone, and it's continued to develop from there. Starting with the oblique imagery, and then starting to go into times where, you can see with the ground capture, and how much it can actually enhance a building or a job without needing to always get the drone out. Always, you don't always need to fly it, and it doesn't always need to be the same model camera. While that does make it much easier, because this merge wasn't the easiest because of the cell phone GPS data, it's normally a little erroneous compared to the drone data. But as you can see, I did a nadir flight, and then an oblique, and then I shot some images down at the front here in an attempt to get a better looking model. So here's where it looked originally. And I was trying to push into that reality modeling. This isn't with context capture, this is with a different software, but you can see once you start adding in ground level photos, you start really getting into that reality modeling world, which I think is separate from modeling, because with context capture, we'll get into some of the challenges here later, but that's one of the ones we had before, was just getting a good enough quality mesh that I didn't need to look through all the photos of an area to know what's going on, to have an understanding. And then here's a quick comparison. This is a side-by-side of a model, no editing done, no nothing. On the left was an old software we were using versus context capture software on the right. And you could see the metal panels, you could see the depth. It's just so much clearer and just so much better. And also it just adds to the efficiency. Because of this, I'm taking less photos and I'm not having to do as much work on the back end to try to get a nice clean model. Here's just kind of a reference of these, the models themselves. So here's the building. It's in an OBJ format. We'll take a peek at this one a tiny bit more later when we get into some of the challenges and how this really helped us out in this certain scenario, and how it really, the intent going out there was definitely a drone was necessary, and being able to have a measurable model is very important to us.
So how do you consume this data, Kerrick? So you prepared the 3D model. Thanks for that amazing comparison. Actually, that was brilliant. And you generated a 3D mesh. You talked about like the efficiency of not having to go through the data to generate that engineering ready 3D mesh. And then what do you do with that 3D mesh? How do you use it afterwards?
Well, that's part of, so with this, it depends on the intent. And that's a big part of the use case. me and my estimator sat down, and for this one specifically, ironically, they didn't think that they could get up on the roof. They had no way to get up there, and they were actually taking people over next door to the building next door, and they were having to look down, and that's how they were able to see the building. So, and as you can see, it's all torn off. So all this wood was really rotten in here. So it was kind of dangerous up here. We were able to get up there through a roof hatch that we eventually found. But just being up there, if I didn't feel very safe, you know, just peeking around a little bit. And so we're able to bring this back, and then we're able to measure off this OBJ file, visualize, you know, where can we load stuff? Where can we put materials, things like that. But to me, I think one of the most valuable uses of the modeling within the construction industry, I think, is going to be, you know, saving those senior employees a lot of time, you know, saving, you know, versus driving out there, you know, spending 2 hours going out, you know, just to go look at a building versus being able to sit there and be more productive, and I can bring it to you. Right. And I'm not worried about you being hurt. Exactly. I'm not worried about you falling off the building. Right. So it adds to that level of safety. And just full detail information that you're bringing it back. You're bringing all this information back, and you don't always know, because I'm as good as I am, I'm not perfect. Nobody is, and there's always things I miss. So having this as an asset that also allows other senior member superintendents and stuff to maybe pick out areas, look at things, and be like, hey, make sure you pay attention to this beforehand, before we go out, so that way, you know, we figure out what's going on, you pay special attention, and we're really able to harness that experience in a different way because of our ability to bring the model to them.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think you said it yesterday, a few days ago, is bringing the field into the office, or if I can phrase it this way, is creating that single source of truth, where, you know, everyone that is collaborating in that project can easily access and you know, make decisions at all levels and at all stages of that project.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I think you guys say it all the time with it's not quite exactly a digital twin, because it's not permanently updated 24/7, but it's still a semblance of a reference that, you know, it's completely different. You try to look at a bunch of flat images and try to figure out what a house or room looks like. I think we've all kind of been there. We've all used Google Earth and tried to kind of get an idea of what's going on. You know, there's a reason that everybody loves, you know, the 3D view, being able to have at least an idea of what's going on out there. But this it steps it up to another level, and the planning that can go into a project so you avoid those pitfalls, I think, is very important.
Mm-hmm. So any challenges, Kerrick, introducing reality modeling with your drone operations? Any challenges come across?
Oh, man. The level of, it's still going on. I don't think
trial and error type stuff. Yeah.
I don't think the challenges will ever end, because it's an ever developing industry. It's an ever developing technology. And when you start getting into some of the storage issues, which is a huge problem, and that we've kind of talked about before, you know, being able to work on that same model, being able to work on that same digital twin in the same environment, you know, giving access to people like your foreman, like some of your, you know, your leaders that might be going out there to look at this job, you know, being able to give them access to all this information beforehand, you know, through a system. We have a different system that we're onboarding now and that we're currently using, that we find is a very, very, very good solution that allows you to house all your data, all your information, all in the same location, same place.
Nice.
everybody's getting the same information. It's all online, and everything can be shared and then hidden behind walls or levels of access, a lot like your guys' context share portion, which I think is a very good asset that comes with the reality modeling solution that Virtuosity gives. Because it gives you, especially when you're starting out, if you don't have a whole lot of buildings you're flying, or your data is not real, you're not flying a 100,000, 300,000 square foot commercial building to where you've got huge amounts of data. Something like this could be 150, 200 photos, and it's not too much, and it's still light enough to share.
Right, readily available in the cloud. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So go ahead and show us some more there. I think you had some more comparisons or another building you were going to show.
Correct. I have. So this one is another one that was produced within a separate software. It's an OBJ file. You could see on the units and stuff like that, there's what's essentially called some noise that's being picked up from the point cloud when the mesh was generated within this software. The coloring is a tad bit more on point with this one compared to the standard blockwise, if it's because it was a real bright and sunny day out. But overall, still a pretty nice model, pretty good looking building. But when you start comparing it to your guys' software, and you really start zooming in on stuff, there are some discoloration from the bright sun. But I am really able to, see this T-patch over here in detail. I'm able to see the marks and annotations that the roofer had made that day. This was to kind of show an example of areas of where possible roof could be leaking after an assessment, to be able to see if we could pick up on these. And you're able to barely see that separation in the lap actually in the model and Bentley's, whereas the original, while you can still see it, there's not near as much detail.
Yeah, tough to make out. Yeah.
Right, and it's also a lot larger file size. It's a little harder to move around. As you can see, it's not wanting to move as much or as easy. And I think it's a staple, honestly, of the context capture software, your guys' 3MX file. The file size being as small as it is, and it runs on any of our computers in the office. All I have to do is have someone download the viewer, which is free. You just need a Bentley account. And then you just go in and you're able to use it because of the measuring tools, because of the annotation tools within the model. You can go in and measure afterwards, take annotations. Another, pretty simple feature is picking specific spots. Let's say, hey, there is a problem over here. So we're then able to pull that lat long, go into a different software, Google Maps, Google Earth, anything like that. You could send this to a field worker and tell him to input it on his phone. And it essentially leads them straight to that location. And obviously there's going to be some relative error that's possible, but generally speaking, you're going to be within a few feet of that location. So it's telling you, right where it is, hey, here's the problem. Hey, send somebody out with this information. You could send them a screenshot, real easy. You could just hit C and it captures your screenshot within context capture. And then you could send this to somebody, have them type it in to their Google Maps and then go find it. So it's just, there's just been a lot of challenges in terms of really sharing has been the biggest. And that's where the viewer has really came in. The file sizes has really came in and helped.
Right.
And then once again, that just the quality. because I'm able to look at the model and actually see what's going on versus needing, like I was saying, that inspection tool for the photos to go in and understand what's going on.
Right. Just make better decisions with the clarity. Yeah.
Exactly.
Kerry, can I ask, coming from James again, do you use ground control points or RTK equipped drones for a greater precision, or what do you use for your accuracy, your final accuracy?
So I normally I will run scale constraints for measurement accuracy, so that way I ensure I have good measurements. I don't go for geolocated or high relative accuracy on my maps. I go for a relative accuracy, not an absolute accuracy. So, and I'm not trying to hit that that guaranteed spot, and that's where I was saying there could be some errors if you pull into Google Earth. It could be feet, all based on those GPS errors. Primarily, it's for viewing and measuring, and when you input scale constraints, going into normally at least the vertical and an X and Y down the building. I normally try to, like on this one, I pulled it down the front edge of the building and then across some blocks sideways and then across the front of the building to get everything to ensure it's the right size and measurement.
Yeah, fair enough. I think you mentioned before, but like when it comes to accuracy, I think it all comes down to the final use case or application. So this seems to be a very smart approach.
Absolutely, and that's that's something that's very cautious. Something we have to be very cautious about. I think just within the industry, to not overstate that that you can guarantee accuracies. Don't overpromise, and really understand what you're getting into. Work with a surveyor, work with those licensed engineers, and you're just, providing the data, you're providing the drone side of stuff, and you give them all the information that they need to discern how accurate something is.
Yeah, I agree. I sometimes even myself, because of my background in surveying, the first question will always be like, what's the accuracy of that 3D mesh? But sometimes it's like you don't even what is the final application actually? What is the accuracy that you need?
Right.
Rather than is it good enough for your final application? So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Right. Another challenge we've had a little bit outside of sharing within the company is sharing with clients, and that's another challenge, and that's where our most recent development with a software called Optilos has really helped us out with sharing and things like that. If anyone's interested, they can give us a ping about it, and we can hook you guys up. Link you up to talk to some people up there. They're a fantastic company, and they're a good solution for hosting some data and
data management. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Right. And just a very good data management company, and they use Bentley as well to process some on the side. Within their system if it's necessary. So it can be a very good solution to a lot of those companies that are, running into those early challenges of trying to share that data, trying to get everybody on the same page, trying to, ensure that everybody has what's needed for the best success for a project.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, Kerrick, I know you're going to be doing, I think you mentioned yesterday, you'll be doing some Virtuosity training here towards the end of the week. Just curious to know what kind of training you'll be taking. You're taking advantage of the keys that Virtuosity offers with each subscription. Also, how has support been? Have they been able to help you out with anything with your digging into context capture, the reality modeling work suite? How's that been?
I haven't got into any keys yet. I'm a tad bit stingy that I only have 3, so I didn't want to use them for some very basic stuff.
Okay.
Do you think you'll need more, or what is it?
Well,
Because you seem very, very self,
Yeah.
a self learner rather than.
Right.
I am
I'm
a
only
decent
joking.
bit, but part of it is, thankfully I've had a little bit of access to Kurt, which you guys have had on here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And Kurt's just a fantastic asset to really help out when I started switching from another software. Just kind of showing me some of the relations between them to get me up and running. And once you get some of how the system works like normal, it's kind of like riding a bike once you get it up and going and figure it out. But the support's been, like I was saying, just right on top of it. Kurt's been fantastic. I do have a training coming up Friday to get into some of the editor stuff, which is another program offered with the Virtuosity bundle. Very, very excited about. I think it's a very powerful CAD heavy program that you can do a lot with in terms of modeling, in terms of showing stuff off. And I think it's really going to help with some of these roof takeoffs, roof plans, things like that. When I bring it back to the estimator, just having a software in-house we're able to use that works, directly with these meshes at a very high level.
Yeah, we're going to be sharing more of Contest Capture Editor. I think it's not a hidden tool, but kind of like people don't know that Contest Capture comes or are less familiar with the fact that Contest Capture comes with the editor. And as you said, it's a very powerful, it's based on MicroStation. So it offers, a very powerful engine for consuming and editing your deliverables. So we'll be sharing a lot of that, hopefully with Kurt as well, because he's an expert also in Contest Capture Editor. So of course, so I'm excited that you're going to be learning about the editor. I can't wait to see some of your results, and then maybe we can do another chat and show what you're learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. It would be, fantastic. I would like to jump back here just for a split second for another use case here. Just because I think this is really valuable in these scenarios. So Division 7 is kind of uniquely poised in that it's a service company as much as it's a construction company, a roofing company. We provide great service, and that allows us to work with a lot of building owners and clients. And this particular building owner is actually out of state. So I'm not even sure 100% the last time he's seen this building. And the intent was to go up here and do a roof takeoff. So I have to go up, do some measurements, bring back some measurements on the panels, things like that. And obviously you could see that day there's a lot of snow out. So me getting up on this metal roof was kind of a little scary. So I didn't want to have to go out here and climb up all over this roof and measure it all over the place and be kind of hanging out, more unsafe than what's necessary, because obviously it's impossible to eliminate risk, but we have to mitigate it as much as we possibly can. And so going up, do some panel measurements, and the intent was for this flight to kind of see what's going on in this transition here up close. And that's why you get a little bit more detail along this edge here, because I kind of flew it from further back to get a good view, and then flew it real close to bring in that detail. And I was quite surprised, although it's not perfect. Within the system, if you pull a measurement from the top of the rib down, you're at 2.14 inches, which is right at 2.5 inches. And then other places it's right about the same or a tiny bit more. And the panel measurement itself is actually 2 3/4. So it's within normally about a 1/4 inch on this measurement, which I think is very, very impressive, because it's a highly reflective metal surface. So it's something that shouldn't really, for most photogrammetry, normally doesn't stitch very well. Normally causes a lot of headache, a lot of problems. So, predefined, we went out, sat down with him, and so he was able to tell me, hey, I need to see this. I need to know what's going on in this area. And that's how we were able to target it. Ironically, though, he was looking at it and he's like, what's some of these marks back here? Just happened to look at the pavement, realizing that that they'd been putting a dumpster back here and had actually damaged the pavement enough and broke a hole and collapsed the pavement a little bit out back. I wasn't even on the backside because the gates were closed. This was no intent at all.
Wow. Bonus capture. Yeah.
Did you, Kerrick, did you consider the sunlight when you did the flight planning and the flight itself? Did you consider, the time at which you were going to fly just to avoid some reflection? Because I want to give you some credit on that, because I can see that, the reflection is always an issue, but I think we should give credit to the operator.
Yes. On this one, especially, obviously you can see the shadow.
Yeah.
And that's where you can't spend too long out there. Sometimes you got to be kind of quick. You don't have time to do a grid, a double grid, another grid, and try to just pull in, so many pictures and stuff. It's got to be quick. And I'm not using a $20,000 setup. I'm using a Phantom 4 Pro. It's quick, it's efficient, it's not expensive to replace if something happens. So I've got a lot less money involved in, turning these models around, because I just don't find it to be necessary. If I need to, I can fly 15 feet off a roof deck and I can get those penetrations like you've seen before. I can get those tiny details. But, for the most part, the question is always, well, what do you want to see? What's the intent, and that decides stuff. But absolutely with the, obviously the weather's one of the hardest things. And we as operators have to figure out a way, how can we work around this? What lens can we use? What way can we shoot this in? Because normally, yes, I'd love to shoot it, dead noon, with the sun at its highest, but it's just not always possible. We've got to get work done, and your system just, it really, it's just really made things a lot easier on me in the past month. And has really just kind of turned around, I feel, our progress and some of the traction we've had with clients and some of the other things we've just been able to do with models because of the quality and resolution.
That's great feedback, Kerrick. Certainly appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
We are over half an hour, so do you want to wrap up, Kerrick, and John? Do you want to say or share anything else before?
I'm pretty good. John, did you want to share anything else for a couple minutes? I really want to give you a shout out in Division 7 and how much you guys have really supported, this adventure.
Yeah, sure. Since I've sat here quietly for most of the presentation, I might as well talk for a second. And Kerrick's touched on it a few times with, paying attention to the costs associated with what the end result is needed or desired. If he would have come in here and told me he needed a $30,000 rig to produce this model, I would have bought it. If he would have told me he need whatever equipment he said he would have need, we would have expensed that to produce this. And I just want to kind of put out there to people that are interested in pursuing this, that would be naive as I would be or am or was to what it takes, making sure you find an honest person that's going to lead you in the right direction and just not look to buy things just for the sake of buying cool things. And Kerrick's done a really good job at keeping costs down and looking for practical solutions and not going overboard when not needed. So, we appreciate Kerrick just being an honest, cost conscientious person to help us bring this off the ground. So appreciate that.
Yep, good folks are hard to find, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I know for sure. Okay, well, thank you very much, Division 7 Roofing, John and Kerrick. And Alicia, thank you very much for setting this up. Look forward to the next one.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining today. and we'll be in touch. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for
Bye,
joining.
stay safe.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Stay safe.
Bye.